Hello everyone. So we are back to do another video. I'm back to do another video with you all. For those of you who are new to watching my videos or new to my channel, welcome. For those of you who aren't new, welcome back. My name is Mystical Essence. I am a spiritual mentor, teacher, oracle card reader, tarot card reader, and astrologer. um, so I have been practicing paganism probably for about 10 years, and I just love to kind of share knowledge to help you all grow along your spiritual path. So that is really my mission, to help share as much knowledge as I can from what I have learned over the years to help you all grow along your spiritual paths. So today we're going to talk about Beltaine and Samhain. So these are two of the 8 pagan Sabbats, or most pagans celebrate them anyways. Not all do, but most. So these are 2 of the 8, and we're going to jump right into this and discuss them. So let's dive in. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about these 2 Sabbats and when they occur. So Beltaine, to begin with, occurs on May 1st in the northern hemisphere of the world, or October 31st in the southern hemisphere of the world. So it depends on which hemisphere you're in. It is also known, so Beltaine can go by a few other names. It is also known as May Day or the middle of spring. Samhain, on the other hand, occurs on May 1st in the southern hemisphere and October 31st in the northern hemisphere. And it also has a few different names. It is often called the Witch's New Year and the middle of fall or autumn. So I have a question for you all. What are some things that come to mind when you think of Beltane or Samhain? Have you ever celebrated it? Have you ever followed? Is this totally new to you? If so, let me know. If you celebrate it, let me know what you do to celebrate it. What comes to mind when you think of these 2 holidays? So, oh my goodness. We're going to talk about what occurs in the skies during Beltane. So during Beltane, astrologically speaking, we're going to show you what occurs in the sky. So right now, and when you look at astrology, you view astrology from the Earth's point of view, right? So we watch how the planets and the stars move through, and personally, so we watch how the planets move and shift through the sky from our perspective here on Earth. That's astrology. So astrologically speaking, when we show the sky and how the planets move through the sky, we depict this in the form of a circle or a circle chart. This chart itself, the astrological chart itself, is broken into 12 different pieces, but each of these 12 different pieces, there's 3 sections that go into, there's 4 different quarters, and each of the 4 different quarters represents a season. So the first quarter is spring, second quarter is summer, third quarter is autumn, fourth quarter is winter, right? So during Beltane, we have the sun that sits at 15 degrees in Taurus. So this spring section is split into 3 different sections. We have Aries, Taurus, and Gemini that sit. Those are the 3 signs that sit in the spring section of this chart, right? When we have Beltane that occurs, the sun is right in the middle of Taurus. So it is right at 15 degrees in Taurus. Okay. So this marks the peak or the middle of the spring season. So the sun falls right in the middle of that section, that spring quarter there. what occurs in the sky during Samhain is pretty much the same thing. Okay, so we have again our astrological circle that maps out the sky. We've split it into 4 different quarters, which gives us the 4 different seasons. We have spring, summer, autumn, winter. When we have the when we have Samhain occur, we have the sun occur that sits in the we have the sun moving through pretty much the middle or sitting at the middle of the autumn quarter of the circle, okay? So it sits in the sign of Scorpio and it sits at 15 degrees exact. So if you want to know when the astrological Samhain is, it is when the sun hits 15 degrees Scorpio. So when we have Samhain, the sun is pretty much right in the middle of the autumn section of the sky. So it is the peak of autumn, the middle of autumn, the peak of autumn. So what does Beltaine represent? So Beltaine represents a few different things. One thing that Beltaine represents is love and union. It can also represent the celebration of life, and it also represents a shift from the dark to the light. So when we have Beltaine, a lot of times people connect Beltaine to love. It's actually the most popular time of the year for people to get married. So that is also why it's connected to love and union. We have a lot of May weddings. A lot of people get hand fasted. If you're pagans, there's a lot of pagans that get hand fasted during Beltane or even the summer solstice. So that connects it to love and union. If you get into the mythology of Beltane, it is also the point in time where the god and goddess meet. So we also have love and union in that aspect as well. We also have the celebration of life. So we are in the peak seasons of spring. So we are in the middle of creation mode. So life is literally being created as we speak during Beltane. So it is a celebration of, creation, of life, of these peak fertility kind of energies, right? We also have it when it shifts, it's a shift from dark to light. So this is kind of the point where we start going from like the lighter energy or the darker energies of winter. We're getting out of those darker energies from the previous winter, the fall and the winter, and we're moving into spring and summer energies. We're hitting that peak point in spring, moving into the summer. So we're really kind of coming into full swing of those lighter kind of energies, right? So what does Samhain represent? So Samhain is the opposite of Beltane. So Samhain represents a celebration of the death. It can represent a shift from light to dark, and it can represent the end of the harvest. So it's a celebration of death. So Samhain is often a time where a lot of people try to connect with spirits. We are honoring our ancestors during that time. You see a lot of ancestor worship happen around Samhain. It is a time when the veil between the spiritual world and the physical world is at its thinnest. So it makes spirit communication, speaking to the dead, speaking to ancestors, that kind of thing super, super easy. So this is a time where Beltane was a time we celebrate life. Samhain is the opposite. We're celebrating death. So we're kind of celebrating the two different aspects of the circle of life, right? It is also a time when we're shifting from the lighter energies, and we're coming out of the spring and summer energies, and we're shifting into the the peak of the autumn energies. So we're moving into the darker aspect of things. We are also at the end of the harvest. So Samhain is also the last of the 3 harvest festivals. So this is when we're wrapping up all of our harvests of food and everything else as well with this Sabbat. So what does Beltane connect to? What are some other things Beltane connects to? So Beltane can connect to the element of fire. It is known as a fire festival, but it is also connected to the element of earth because it does occur in the middle of Taurus, and Taurus is an earth sign. So to me, it connects to both fire and earth. Its duality is masculine, it's projective, it's active. The astrological sign is Taurus. The direction that is connected to Beltaine is the southeast. The time that it's connected to is still spring and dawn. So much like Ostara, we're still in the springtime, we're still connected to spring and dawn. Some themes of this Sabbat is love, union, personal development. So those are things you can focus on with Beltaine. With Samhain, the element that's connected to Samhain, we have fire, because it also is a fire. It's considered a fire festival, but we also connect it to water because it also sits at the peak of Scorpio. So Scorpio is a water sign. Its duality is feminine, so it is receptive and passive. We have it connected to the astrological sign of Scorpio. The direction that it connects to is the northwest. The time that it connects to is fall or dusk, because we're still in the autumn seasons. And the themes that are connected to this Sabbat are spirit communications, death, and introspection. So here's some interesting facts about Beltaine. It stems from Gaelic, and it means balefire or fire of Baal. So Baal was the Celtic god of the sun. He was the sun god. I do believe that Baal also has roots in Mesopotamian culture as well, if you go back farther than the Celts, but this is more of a Celtic celebration. So he was the sun god of the Celts. It is also a time when spring or fertility is at its peak. The earth is springing to life. You see trees growing leaves. So not only are we seeing the buds that we're seeing in Ostara, but we're actually seeing the leaves start to sprout. Unless you're in a place like this year that is really freaky and you get snow in the middle of April. But typically around this type of year, you're seeing the leaves starting to bloom and blossom. Flowers are blooming and blossoming. The earth is kind of springing with life. So the earth is definitely being filled with new life at this point in time. It is one of the greater Sabbats. So the greater Sabbats were the 4 Sabbats that were originally celebrated before they added in the solstices and equinoxes, to my understanding. So they are considered fire festivals, most of them. So you have Beltaine, Samhain, Imbolc, and Lunasa are the 4 greater Sabbats. So something you can do if you want to celebrate Beltaine, a good ritual to do is the Great Rite. So it's a pretty simple ritual. You can look it up online if you want. But there is a symbolic version and there is a more explicit version that uses sex magic if you're into that kind of thing as well. We also have Samhain. So some fun facts about Samhain. It stems from a modern Irish word and it means summer's end. So this is a time when the harvest is occurring and the dying energies are kind of at their peak. So it's not death energies like when we move into the winter, like full on death, but things are starting to degenerate, things are starting to die off. So the dying or the process of dying is at its peak. It's a time where the earth is giving back what has been cultivated and is also releasing things that are no longer needed. So we see the earth kind of giving back to us the things that we have cultivated, meaning in our harvests. right? When we work hard and we tend those plants, we're getting those harvests back, we're getting a yield from the crop. It's also a time when we're seeing the earth release things that is no longer needed. So we see plants kind of dying off, trees are losing their leaves, and that kind of thing because they're conserving energy for the winter. So they're shedding things that aren't needed. It's also a time when the barrier between the spirit worlds, like I mentioned earlier, and the physical worlds is at its thinnest. Samhain is also one of the greater greater Sabbats. So again, it is one of the 4 fire festivals. So Imbolc, Wonasa, Beltaine, or Samhain are the 4 greater Sabbats, and then you have the solstices and the equinoxes are the lesser Sabbats. So an easy thing that you can do to celebrate this Sabbat is you can do divination or spirit communication, or leave out an offering for your ancestors as well, is something else you could do. So that sums up my presentation for Samhain and Beltaine. Let me know, guys, if you found this information helpful. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Follow me if you want. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.